All right, so we're all living through what feels like a new industrial revolution, right? But what does it actually take to win in this new world? Here's a hint. It's not really about working harder, it's all about thinking smarter. So in this explainer, we are going to break down the critical data strategies that you really need to master. Let's dive in.
So let's just start with the biggest question on the table. I mean, think about it. We're in this age of just constant change and an absolute flood of information. So how do you make the right decisions? How do you find that one important signal in all that noise?
Okay, first things first, let's get our bearings here. What we're talking about isn't just another passing tech trend. Nope. This is a full-blown new industrial revolution. The fundamental rules of how we build things, how we operate, how we solve problems, they're all being rewritten as we speak.
You know, if you think about past revolutions, they were all about physical stuff, right? Steam, electricity, steel. This one, it's built on something totally different. It's built on information, data. That's the real fuel of our time. It's the new oil, the new engine. It is the most valuable asset you can have.
So, if information is really the key to everything, then what's in our toolkit? Well, there are two key technologies that are right at the heart of this whole revolution. The Internet of Things, you've probably heard of it as IoT, and of course, big data.
Okay, the easiest way to wrap your head around these two is to think of them like a team. They have totally different but complementary jobs. The IoT devices, they're the gatherers. They're out in the real world collecting all the raw information. Big data, then, is the team of brilliant analysts, the pattern finders, who take all that raw stuff and start making sense of it.
So let's zoom in on IoT for a second. Just picture a massive, massive network of digital eyes and ears. I'm talking about everything from tiny sensors on a factory floor to logistics trackers on a shipping container. These little devices are constantly, 24/7, collecting and sharing real-time data about what's happening in the physical world, like right now.
And that is where big data steps onto the stage. Its job is to sift through the literal trillions of data points that all those IoT devices are sending in. It runs these incredibly powerful analytics to find connections you never knew existed, to spot trends just as they're starting, and to pull out insights that, honestly, a human being could never spot on their own. It finds the story that's hidden in all that noise.
Okay, and this brings us to what might be the most important part of this whole conversation. The technology is amazing, right? Absolutely incredible. It can gather and analyze stuff on a scale we couldn't even have dreamed of a few years ago. But, and this is a big but, on its own, all that data, all those patterns, it's just noise. It's meaningless without context, without judgment.
And that's where we come in. The final, absolutely irreplaceable piece of this puzzle isn't another piece of tech, it's a uniquely human skill, critical thinking. This is the magic ingredient that turns all that raw data into actual wisdom.
So, what does critical thinking actually mean in this context? It's about looking at what the technology gives you and then asking the tough questions. Questions like, okay, why is this happening? What does this pattern really mean for our business? Or, what's the smartest thing to do next? It's all about applying our human judgment to the machine's output.
And this all leads us to the central idea, the big takeaway. The real power, the true advantage in this new era, it doesn't come from just the tech, and it doesn't come from just human intuition. No, it comes from putting them together. It's a synthesis. You could call it tech-assisted thinking.
And you know, a quote from our source material puts it perfectly. The whole goal is to use technology to assist in their critical thinking process. See that word? Assist. The technology is a powerful assistant, a tool that makes our abilities even better. It's not here to replace us.
So, what does this look like in practice? Well, it's actually a pretty simple but really powerful three-step process. Step 1, the tech, the IoT, gathers all the information. Step 2, the tech, big data, analyzes it and finds the interesting stuff. And then, the most crucial step, step 3, we, the humans, apply our critical thinking to question what it found and make the final decision.
All right, so that's the theory, which is great. But what does this actually look like in the real world? You know, when you're actually trying to get something done.
The key thing to remember here is that we're not talking about 3 separate skills you have to learn. We're talking about one single integrated competency. It's this powerful fusion of IoT, big data, and your own critical thinking. And here's a really great way to visualize it all. Think of this as the ultimate toolkit for any modern problem solver.
You've got IoT acting as your eyes and ears out in the field. You've got big data as this super powerful pattern-finding engine. And then you have your critical thinking as the brain of the whole operation, directing everything and making that final critical call.
So let's be absolutely crystal clear about this. This whole thing is not about humans versus machines. The goal has never been to replace human thought. It's about amplifying it. It's about making our own thinking more powerful, more precise, and more effective than it has ever been before.
And that really brings us to the core of it. We've just walked through a new framework for thinking, one that masterfully combines the best of technology with the very best of human judgment. This, right here, is the skill set that's going to define who succeeds in this new industrial revolution. So the only real question left is, how are you going to start applying it?